We got Sophie the Trophy, one half of the Blonde Bombers, coming out and exposing her truth with this Bria Hartley situation, and she's also letting it be known the behind the scenes and what's really going on with Caitlin Clark's injury.
Stephanie White just dropped a shocking update, and it's sending shockwaves through the entire WNBA. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, two of the league's brightest stars, could be walking away. Not a trade, not a benching. We're talking about quitting the WNBA altogether. Fans are stunned. Players are reacting. And the league might be staring down serious trouble.
Doesn't even know. Like, it's just like a day by day legit type of thing. And so, yeah, she's close, but like, you also have to remember, like, she could be playing if it wasn't in the WNBA by now, but like at this level with how deep and like how good people are nowadays in our league, which is the best it's ever been, like you can't just be good. You have to be on top of your game. And so just trying to get her back in game shape, I think is what they're trying to do. But like, again, it's literally a day by day. I'm not holding out any information.
Stephanie White's announcement hit like an earthquake. It wasn't just another injury update or a routine press conference. The Indiana Fever's head coach spoke about Caitlin Clark's uncertain future, while also hinting that Sophie Cunningham might be considering the same move. Think about that for a second. Two of the most competitive and influential players possibly stepping away from the league. That's not just a headline. That's a crisis for the WNBA. What makes this so wild is how unexpected it feels. But when you really start looking at the situation, all the signs have been there for weeks. Constant injuries, endless fines, inconsistent officiating, and a growing divide between players in the league.
Half, the rest didn't call. Someone should have been thrown out, and the rest did not call it.
Correct. I remember that.
If I was a ref, I know I would mess up all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that your job is easy, but when it is a simple call right in front of your face multiple times, what are you doing?
These tensions didn't happen overnight. They've been building slowly, and now everything is boiling over. But here's the real question. Is this just frustration talking, or are we genuinely looking at Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham walking away from the WNBA? Let's dig deeper. Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA as the league's biggest star in decades, instantly transforming the Indiana Fever and putting women's basketball back in the spotlight. Ticket sales skyrocketed, viewership exploded, and every arena she stepped into became a sellout. She's not just a player, she's the face of the league. But that spotlight comes with massive pressure. And right now, Clark is dealing with more than anyone could have imagined. Her injury situation is a perfect example. Officially, the Fever say it's day-to-day, but if you watch closely, something doesn't add up. She's missed practices, skipped film sessions, and even teammates seem uncertain about when she'll return. That level of mystery surrounding the league's biggest draw is strange, and it's starting to frustrate fans. On top of that, Clark has been taking hard hits in nearly every game. Some matchups look more like wrestling than basketball. And the worst part, the league hasn't done nearly enough to protect her. How much longer can she put her body through this before deciding enough is enough? Could this be the reason Caitlin is seriously considering stepping away? Then there's Sophie Cunningham, one half of the Blonde Bombers and one of the most fearless players in the WNBA. Sophie's never been afraid to speak her mind. And this time, she went all in. She called out the league, the officiating, and even hinted that Caitlin Clark's situation is becoming unsustainable. This isn't just about one player defending another. Sophie's had her own battles with the league. She's been fined multiple times for on-court incidents, and even for comments she's made about officiating. It feels like she's been targeted, and she's had enough. Now, with Clark facing constant fouls and questionable calls, Sophie's frustration makes sense. She sees what fans see, a league that says it wants to grow, but doesn't protect its biggest assets. And if Sophie feels like things won't change anytime soon, she could decide to walk away, too. But here's the key. Sophie's voice carries weight. When she speaks up, players listen. Her backing of Caitlin only fuels speculation that both could be thinking about leaving the WNBA for good. Here's where things get messy. The WNBA is growing a double standard. Fans have been pointing out inconsistencies in how different stars are treated. Some players get away with more physical play. Some get friendlier whistles. And others, like Caitlin Clark, seem to be punished for reacting when fouled hard. Take Sophie Cunningham's fines, for example. She makes one joke or points out favoritism, and her wallet takes a hit. Meanwhile, other players openly criticize officiating and get nothing. That sends a message. Certain players are protected while others are left exposed. The problem isn't just perception. It affects games, stats, and even careers. If players feel the league isn't officiated fairly, frustration builds. For someone like Clark, who's constantly in the spotlight and absorbing contact every night, that frustration can turn into burnout fast. Is it any surprise that both Caitlin and Sophie might be questioning their future here? The league's credibility is on the line, and unless something changes, things could spiral quickly. Inside the Indiana Fever locker room, tensions have been rising between Clark's injury, Cunningham's outspoken attitude, and the pressure to win. The environment is intense. When your two key players are dealing with this much noise, it inevitably affects team chemistry. There's also the dynamic between players, coaches, and management. Stephanie White is in a difficult position, and she has to manage star egos, build a winning strategy, and keep the front office happy. But when two of your most important players are questioning whether to even stay in the league, how do you lead effectively? Players talk. They notice everything: the inconsistent calls, the league politics, and the lack of protection for stars. Combine that with the growing media attention around Caitlin and Sophie, and the pressure inside that locker room is unlike anything the WNBA has seen before. Could this friction push Clark and Cunningham even closer to making a drastic decision? And if one of them leaves, does the other follow? So what happens next? Right now, Caitlin Clark has three realistic paths in front of her. The first is to stay in the WNBA and fight for change. She's already shifted the league's landscape and could use her influence to push for better officiating, higher standards of player safety, and real structural improvements. The second path leads overseas. European leagues offer shorter seasons, higher salaries, and according to many players, more consistent officiating. Caitlin could dominate internationally, play fewer games, and still make more money. Then there's a third option, a complete pivot outside basketball. With her marketability, sponsorships, and massive fan base, Caitlin could easily transition into something like professional golf or media opportunities. The demand for her presence is that strong. Which path makes the most sense? That depends on how much more she's willing to endure in the WNBA as it stands today. Sophie Cunningham's future is just as fascinating. If Caitlin leaves, Sophie's decision could follow closely behind. She's built a reputation as one of the league's most passionate and outspoken players, but she's also had enough battles with fines, referees, and league leadership to start weighing her options. If she chooses to stay, Sophie could become a central figure in pushing for player-driven reforms. She has the respect of her peers and the guts to speak up when others stay quiet. But overseas leagues could be tempting, too, especially with better pay and fewer penalties for being outspoken. What makes Sophie's situation so pivotal is how connected it is to Caitlin's. If the league loses one, it can survive. But if it loses both, it risks a serious collapse in momentum. That's why all eyes are on Sophie right now. Make no mistake, this isn't just about two players. Caitlin Clark's presence has been the single biggest driver of the WNBA's growth over the past 2 years. Her debut season set attendance records, TV ratings hit all-time highs, and sponsorships poured in. If Caitlin steps away, those numbers change overnight. Ticket sales drop, TV deals lose leverage, merch sales stall. The Caitlin Clark effect has been real, and losing her would be a devastating hit to the league's growth. And if Sophie follows, that compounds the impact. It's not just about losing stars. It's about losing credibility with fans, investors, and future players. The WNBA has worked for years to build momentum. But without Clark and Cunningham, it risks sliding backward fast. The question is, does the league realize just how fragile its success really is? Behind closed doors, there's no doubt the WNBA is scrambling. Stephanie White's comments didn't come out of nowhere. This feels like a warning shot to the league's leadership. Coaches, players, and executives all understand the stakes. Expect meetings, phone calls, and pressure from sponsors who know Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's a brand driving millions in revenue. If she leaves, the league's trajectory shifts immediately. There's also a growing sense of urgency among other players. Many are watching closely to see how the league handles this situation. If the WNBA doesn't take swift action to protect its stars and address officiating concerns, it could open the door for more players to follow Caitlin and Sophie's path. At this point, the WNBA has one choice: evolve quickly or risk losing everything it's built. So here we are, Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. Two of the league's biggest names are seriously considering walking away from the WNBA. Stephanie White's announcement has put the entire league on edge, and fans everywhere are asking the same thing. What happens next? Will Caitlin stay and fight for change? Will Sophie take her talents overseas? Or could both players decide they've had enough and leave together? Each path leads to a completely different future for the WNBA. And that brings us to you. If Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham quit, would you still watch the WNBA? Or does the league lose its momentum without them? Drop your thoughts below, because this conversation is far from over.